Alright, welcome to the next video on AutoCAD. We're going to be covering a couple different things here. So we're going to hit textiles because it's going to be related to everything else we're doing. Then we're going to jump into making a couple different symbols. We're going to make them annotative and we're going to make them dynamic. That'll all make sense in a bit. And then we're also going to do some dimension lines and room labels. So you'll be able to at least have that covered so that you can complete the milestone for this week. So let's jump into it. I have a brand new window of AutoCAD here, so I'm going to, of course, type units, and there we go. We'll set this to architectural and hit OK, and then we can start working. So let's go ahead, and what we'll do is we'll start with creating blocks. So just real quick, right here in this area, I'm going to make like a little pseudo wall. Let me see how long that is, 20 feet, yeah. And then we'll take this, offset that up 6 inches, and then I'll create just a space right here where I've got a 2'6" area for a door and a window. So we've got that. I'll trim it out. And now we can build a door. So we built doors before, but they were sort of temporary, right? And so what blocks do is allow you to kind of save them. So we'll do 2'6" there, close that up, and then start center end. One thing to note, a couple of you guys I saw in class were having trouble with this. So when you do this start, whenever I'm talking about like joining something like this, you want to go to where the thing meets the wall right here. In this particular case with this tool for this right now, we're talking about where the door would hinge against this wall is where we want to draw that. And then, of course, I'll hold down Control and we'll get the arc there. So now I've created this door. It looks fantastic. We love it. But I don't want to keep having to redraw this every time, right? So first, we'll make this a block. So I'll select the door and all the components that make it up. So I've got the 4 lines here and the arc. And then we need to type block to convert this into a block. And what I'll do is I'll call this door so I can organize things. I like to have sort of the region, the function, something, something, and then the dimension of it. So in this case, this is going to be door underscore 2'6" to indicate this is a 2'6" door. Left to right, for the purposes of this door, we're going to specify the base point on screen. Now again, or actually I will do pick point. Again, I want to choose a corner where this is always going to touch something. So here, at this corner where it touches the wall. If you were to do it like up here, you'd have to place it and then move it every time. But if we do it right here, once we complete it, I'll show you. We've already selected the objects, so we don't need to select them here because we've selected them already. And then this is not going to be annotative, so we'll just leave this as is. We'll hit OK. And now this is a block. So it's noticeably different from, let me explode this real quick. So select that, you can see that it's got one point here that I can grab, right? So if I grab that point, I'm always snapping it to a wall. So that's why we assign that point as the base point. With this other set of lines, see, I could move this, but it just kind of does weird things. But also, visually, it's different from if this was grouped. We'd have that line around it, and if this was joined, I don't even know what it would do if we join it. I don't think that would even work. Yeah, it just kind of does weird stuff. So a block is fundamentally different in that it has this one control point that you can grab it by. The other day I mentioned when I was building that bed in the demo, let me just do a fake bed here. And I said that I would have like a little 3-inch thing that sticks off of here. So if this was a bed and I was converting this to a block, I would actually just select everything but that little thing. And we'll just call this temp bed. You don't have to do this. I'm just illustrating this. My base point would be right there. And so now if I was to take this temp bed and place it in a room, I would find the center of a wall, place it, and now it's just off of that wall. So it's it saves you a little bit of time as compared to if I just had, let me explode this. We'll reblock this as block temp bed 2. Oops. Temp bed 2, and if we specify the point, so if I specify the point right there, yeah, good. All right. Now it's right here, and so if I was to place this against the wall, I'd go, okay, well now it's against the wall, but I don't want it immediately against the wall. You want to move stuff like an inch or two off the wall, so it would take me more actions to do that. So that's why. So that's the one where it's right on it. Whereas this one, I can just move this along the wall now to whatever spot I want. Without having to do that second step. So think about where you're placing your base points is what I'm getting at. So we've got our door done. We can, oops, let's move this over here. And again, I'll build a window. So if I offset this 1, and then offset this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Offset 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then just real quick build this out. So we've got a window we can mess with too. Yeah, this mouse is dying on me. Okay. 2 inches that way. 2 inches that way. Line. And down. And then we'll move this another inch out. Okay, so this is our window. And we want to make this a block as well. So I'll do a select across here to grab those. Select across here. Another thing I saw a couple issues of people having in class was just doing a selection across like this. And what you end up doing is you end up grabbing the little sections that were here as part of the wall. So that's why I do this 2-part selection to get around that. So now I've got this right here. We'll go ahead and make this a block as well. We'll call this window. In this case, it'll be single pane. And it'll be 2, 6. I'm doing this because there's certain characters you can't use, like inches and stuff. So that just kind of standardizes it. So, all right, we'll pick a point. So again, I would recommend using any of these corners that the window shares with this wall. So I'll go ahead and choose this one right here. We already have our objects and we're good there. So we hit OK, and now this is a component, or sorry, a block. So what's this useful for? Well, let's say that I have, actually, let me just grab this, offset this 6 inches, offset 2'6", and then CO here, and we'll do an array of 4 times. So let's say we've got a series of windows like this. Obviously, you could also copy this as an array. But if I go to insert here and we choose the window as a block, I can just come in here, insert window. Oh, it's trying to rotate on me. To rotate, let's do 180 from whatever it's trying to do there. Okay, it's being weird. Let's just do it normally. So we would bring it in, place it, and then we could move this. And then again, if we needed to, we could copy this multiple times throughout our drawing. So that's one of the strengths of blocks, is that you can sort of store them in your project and then copy them wherever you need to, so you don't have to build the same window multiple times. Another advantage of blocks is because they're self-contained, I don't have things tripping over themselves. So if this right here wasn't all a set of lines, If I'm trying to move all of these over to the window layer, this is a pain because now I have to kind of manually grab all those, whereas each of these I can just grab with a single click. Okay, so those are blocks. We've created blocks. We're happy with that. One other thing that you can do with a block is you would select the block, and then if you type wblock, it comes up with this window right here. And so what I can do here is I've got the block that I have currently selected. It gives me a file name and path. And so this is a location where now I can save this to a series of blocks. And so I made those ones last night, messing around, making sure I still know how to use the program. Now I can go in, find that library as well. Where are we? And now for some reason, if I need a 2x2 window, that took unusually long, I can now bring that window in from my own library. All right. I wouldn't, if you're the enterprising type, you could spend a day just building all the different doors and windows and whatever you would need, sort of in 2-inch increments to get the correct sizes and everything. Or you just, as you're working along in the major, you just keep going, oh, I have to build this. Well, I'll take that bed that I built and I'll just make a block out of it right now, save it in a folder somewhere that I can get to, and then just keep building your collection. Somewhere I've got a folder with like 300 things on it that I used as a student myself. So yeah, create a library with wblock, or well, rather export them with wblock. So just to go over it again, wblock with this door selected, and this is going to be door 2'6" in that same library. So now I'm slowly building up a small collection of blocks I can reuse in different projects. Okay, so let's go ahead and create some text styles now. So we'll go up here to the annotate menu. In the text window here, we have standard is currently selected. We'll click on this whole box and we'll get manage text styles right here. And we're going to create a couple. There's going to be 7 sizes. 4 are going to be standard, 3 are going to be annotative. So what we'll do is we'll click on the standard, and these are defaults. Oh, sorry, that was out of your window. Okay, so you can go with the default Arial font right here. If you really feel fancy, you can go to like City Blueprint, and you can see that kind of has that fancier one. So we'll go ahead and use City Blueprint for this. Leave the style at regular. We're not going to do annotative at first. And we'll hit new. Don't worry about that. So this one we're going to call it standard 1-4 for 1/4 inch. Again, we can't use slashes. Oh, and we can't use the quotes either. So this is how I would annotate that, is standard 1/4 inch. Hit OK, and then just go back here, set that to 1/4 inch, and then we'll just keep doing new again, so it's been modified. This one will be standard 1/8 inch. Oops, I keep hitting inch. Set it to 1/8 inch. We'll do standard 3/32. Set this to 3/32 of an inch. Right here, you notice it changed back to 1/8 inch. If you'll remember way back to the first day when, I guess Monday, when we were talking about this, this is one of those cases where because of the precision, because I went to 3/32 of an inch, this got rounded back to an 1/8 inch. If I re-enter it, oops, again, you can see that it still reverted to that. It shows no difference, but we can place it out there in a minute and I'll show you that it is showing up correctly. And then finally we'll do standard and a 1/16 of an inch. A 1/16 of an inch is generally about the smallest text you want to put into a model. So that's the smallest that we're going to go. And I think we're only using the 1/4 inch for one thing. So once I've got those standard ones done, I'm going to click on the annotative. We'll change this to city blueprint as well. I went completely past it. Okay, so we'll hit new. Sure. And then this one is going to be Anno 18. And this one, again, just to make sure, you should have annotative checked on these ones now that we're using annotative. So there's 1/8 inch. This will be Anno 3/32. And then Anno 1/16. Okay, so you should have those 3 Anno ones and these 4 standard ones. We'll go ahead and hit close. Now let me just show you guys real quick. If I take, so I'm on Anno 16 right now. We'll do TEX for the text tool. Don't worry about this. And if I just do some text right there, this one is going to be 1/16 of an inch tall. If we go to the 3/32, this is the one that was rounding to. Oh, come on. Text. And then we have our 1/8 inch, which is what it said that was. So here you can see that they are different sizes. This one is that 3/32 that it visually rounded in the menu to 1/8 of an inch. But this one right here is 1/8 of an inch, and you can see that this is visually smaller. So again, it comes down to those precision settings that we set in units right here. So if we were to change this to 30 seconds and hit OK, oh, get out of there, and go back to our menu here, we should be able to see 3/32 now as that font size. So that's one area where kind of having weird precision values can trip you up. So, all right, let's go ahead and make a couple section marker cuts, and elevation markers. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 things. We're going to make a 5/16 inch. Oops. 5/16 inch square. And then we're going to make a 5/16 inch diameter circle. So we've got these 2 right here. We'll go ahead and take this. We need to rotate this square 45 degrees. And then we're going to move it so that it's directly centered on top of the circle right here. Come on. There we go. Okay. So now that we've got that, we'll go ahead and draw a line. And this is going to go back and forth across the middle of this circle. And then we will get our, let me see here, I wrote down notes for once. 16th inch standard. So we'll go to our 16th inch standard. And then we'll go ahead and type text to do another text line. Let's talk about this now that you guys are actually placing text. So right here I have a couple different options for justify and style. Style is just going to change what we're using. But if we do J for justify, and then C for center, right? Because I want this to be centered right here. Click in the center there, and then move it out in this direction to the right. If you were to do it in a different direction, it would be kind of slanted. For this right here, we'll just put 1 as a default value and then hit enter twice, and that'll get us out of there. Next, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to move it up. Oh, there we go. We're going to move this up 1/32 of an inch. And then the original, the one that we put here, we're going to move this down 3/32 of an inch. So now it's sort of there, because they're that same height, they're the 16th of an inch, it leaves that 32nd of an inch gap between both of them off the center here. So we'll use this as our default right now, or a template. And what we'll do is I'm just going to change this for clarity's sake to A101. And what this is going to represent is this will represent the page that the drawing that I'm using this for is on, and then this will be the actual drawing set. So anytime you place an elevation marker or a section cut or something in your drawing, this references where to find that in the rest of your construction document sheet. So if I look at this, I go, okay, well, this is on A101 or page A101, drawing number 1. And then for elevations, we'll also have a second set of symbols around here. So let's leave that as a default. We'll go ahead and copy this and we'll start because we'll want to use that elsewhere. And we'll go ahead and copy it right there. So if this was an elevation marker, it's basically done. So at this point, I can just run hatch. We'll do a solid fill, and we'll do that. Now, if this is an elevation marker, we're also going to have symbols around the edge here. So I would also come in here, copy this, and then these I'm just going to kind of freehand place around the edges. Like that. So this would indicate that this is drawing, and I mean, these would obviously change to a particular value, 1, 2, 3, 4, drawing set A, whatever it may be. There's a whole bunch of different naming conventions. As long as you pick one for each drawing and stick with it, it's fine by me for this. Okay, so this is all we would need to, actually, I just saw this and it's bugging me. It was like not aligned. Right there. Okay. So you could use this. You could save this somewhere. You could block this, and then we'll call this just demo elevation. And you could pick a point here and hit OK. And then you could export this as a block to wherever you need to. And then once you place it in your drawing, you could explode it. If you could type right, there we go. And then you could change these values, but this is kind of tedious because you've got to keep going in all these little values here and changing things. So the way that I do it, there's a couple extra steps here, but it's going to make it a lot easier on you in the future. So doing this once is very much worth it. What you're going to do is type attdef, and this is going to bring up this attribute definition window here. We'll go ahead and leave it at lock position. The tag for this is going to be north elev, north elev, and honestly I could probably, let me copy paste, yeah. Justification is going to be center, and then non-annotative, we're going to use that same 16th inch, hit OK, and then we're going to place this where each of these other ones are. So I'm going to do one for north, this will be east elev, justification will be center, this will be south elev, and then this will be west elev, oops, and center. And then again, these values, like I said, these values in here represent different things. So this one will be page num and we'll put this one right here, and then drawing num. So it's a little bit of work to get this set up because you do have to do all this other nonsense. But now that I've done this, what I can do is, once I get rid of all these other things I have in here, did you get that one? There it is. And if I really want to get tricky, I could probably come back in here and respace these out because that wasn't quite where I wanted it. So now that I've got this right here, I can select the whole thing, and then we'll create a block out of this, and we'll call this elevation, or we'll do symbol, elevation, northeast, southwest. We'll pick a point, it doesn't really matter. And then this one, we're also going to check that it's annotative. So we'll get annotative right there. We have our object selected, so we're good to go. When you use an annotative block, you're going to get this edit attribute window that pops up here. So now, instead of having to go to these individual settings here, I can set my drawing window here. So there's my drawing. This is going to be drawing, say, 5, page number A203. West elevation is going to be, I should really change this around. So I do north, east, south, and west. So 4, 3, 2, 1 like that. When I hit OK, it now updates all these numbers. If I go and place another one of these, so I get my another one there, this can be drawing 7, or let's say drawing 2 on page C4 300, and then maybe this is part of a different set of things. So well, let's just do 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit OK, and there we go. So it really enables us to kind of work a little bit quicker by doing a couple extra steps there. If you want to change these, you can go to Properties, and let's get this in the window. And down here at the bottom of the Properties window, you have Attributes. So this is where I could come in here and just, if I needed to change that value here, I can do that from this Properties menu. So that's a really handy tool to use. So let's say you're working on a project, and for whatever reason you don't have, for example, a west elevation. Well, that's easy enough. We can just come in here and explode this. We'll get rid of the west elevation. We'll get rid of our fill here because we don't need that. And then we'll just modify this so that we no longer have that west elevation there. We'll do a hatch. Oh, right. It's going to be a pain because there's lines there. Let's go ahead and move. And this is a cool trick. If you move something a fixed distance, you can always just move it back the fixed distance. So I'll move this over 2 inches over there so it's completely out of the way. Do a hatch, fill, fill, fill. And then we'll move this 2 inches back so it's back right where it was. Now we can reblock this, and we'll call this symbols, elevation, and then northeast, south. And specify on screen, or no, sorry, pick a point. Make sure it's annotative and hit OK. And now I've got, you know, a 1, 2, 3, 2, and I don't know, D100, 3, right? So I mean, you get the idea there. So we've got these different values that we can use, or different things that we can do to that block now that we've created one that lets us kind of use it consistently and repeatably. Similarly, now that we've got this same format here, we can come down here and just completely explode this one. And if we want to make a section cut marker, we can just modify this slightly because we've already done all the work getting the rest of this set up. Let's go and move this out of the way. Hatch. Move it an inch back. And now this is block symbols section north. Pick our point, annotative, and hit OK. It doesn't matter, page number A101, 1 for sure. Okay. So very quickly, we've created symbols. We can reuse these symbols anywhere. So how do we actually use these now that they're annotated? Because if you switch to your layout over here, you can see that I can't see the symbols. They're actually very tiny. They're way down here. So the purpose of annotative symbols is to show up at the scale that they're the correct size at scale. So if I got rid of that right there, let's come back in here, get rid of a couple of these other things. If I want to put an elevation marker in this, say these windows make up a space that's right here. So what I would do is I would come in here and I would find this elevation marker. Let me zoom out again here. Actually, let's do it from model space. So I've got this right here. We'll move it down into what would be this room. Now, this entire time, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but whenever you're building annotative symbols, you need to make sure you're at 1:1 at scale when you're building them. So if you're going to go build new ones, you need to make sure you need to come back to this 1:1. But now that we're here, we can go ahead and set this to 1/4 inch. And then what I'll do is I'll select this one, go to annotate and do add current scale, and it now pops up at the correct scale. So if I go to here in this drawing and I go to 1/4 inch, now that's going to show up at 1/4 inch scale on my finished actual export drawing here. If I change it to 1/8 inch, it's going to disappear because it's not set to show up at that scale. But I could, if I wanted to, select this, select 1/8 inch, add current scale, and now it's going to show up at 1/8 inch. Come on. 1/4 inch, and see how it resizes itself as I jump between them. But if I go to 1/16 inch, it's going to disappear again. So annotative scales for these kind of symbols are very handy because you can place them once throughout your model and not have to worry about like constantly rebuilding them. Other ones like the section marker here, you'll probably only want to have it one specific size and then not have it another size. And obviously they'll be on their own layers anyway. So if they're showing up anyway and you don't want them here, I don't have any layers set up in this drawing, but I could filter them out by just freezing the layer in the viewport. So if we had a full layer here, elevation markers, and we move this to elevation markers, then if it's showing up in a drawing I don't want it in, I would just filter out that in that drawing to begin with, right? Okay, so we've done annotative blocks, we've done dynamic blocks with attribute definition, we've placed them, set their scale and annotative level. So let's talk about drawing labels, just a quick, again, let's say that I've got a room right here. Let me see. Okay, so we'll go back to annotate here. Again, we're on text. We'll go ahead and select an annotative 1/8 inch, and this will be our label for the room. So we'll do text, and this will be room, all caps, room name, and then, well, actually, let me redo that one, text. We do want to justify this. Oh, it is set to center. Okay, yeah. So this will be room name, and then we'll do another one that's 3/32, and we'll do text, and try to get this about the same size, and then we'll just do like 10 foot 0 inch by 10 foot 0 inch, just as kind of placeholder text. And then we'll go ahead and move this down. Now again, this is 3/32, and I want a 1/16 of an inch between them. So I'm going to do 5/32 is 5/32 of an inch. Oh, what's going on? 5/32. Oh, see, I'm screwing myself up. Okay, we need to go back to 1:1 here. So let's go ahead and delete those. Okay, let's try this again. Text, and this will be, sorry, room name, text, room name. So yeah, even I can screw up and forget to go back to 1:1 when I'm working on stuff. Happens. Okay, 3/32. Again, we'll do text, center, line, and then 10 foot 0 inch x 10 foot 0 inch. Okay. So then 5/32 down. And there we go. So again, I could convert this into another dynamic block. So if I wanted to, I could also do attdef, and we would do room name, center, annotative. This one will be, sorry, I need to change this back to 1/8 inch. Place it there, and then do it again for room dimensions, justification center, and this will be 3/32. And just to make sure for OCD reasons that they're on kind of the same lineup right there, I'll just throw in a something I can snap them both to. And then we'll move this down 5/32. Get rid of that. And convert this into a block. And we can call this symbols room label. Making a point, doesn't matter where really for this one, but it will be annotative. And then we can just say room name. And again, don't forget to type in full cap. So this would be something like kitchen. Actually, let's just do bedroom so I don't have to think of a kitchen dimension. So guest bedroom, and we'll call it 10 foot 0 inch x 10 foot 0 inch. Put the dash in there. Okay. So I've hit OK. Now I've got this different thing I could do too. So now I've got a block here that I can move around wherever I need it to go. So we can place it here in the room, change it to 1/4 inch, add current scale, and then now here we are in this space, 1/4 inch. Oh, that's right. I was like, why isn't that showing up? Because we froze it. Okay. So that's how we would easily be able to put a couple different blocks and symbols and things throughout our entire drawing, without having to kind of like rebuild these things constantly. So just having a couple of these very simple blocks speeds up your documentation time very, very much so. Okay. We have one more, and this one we can build in the model layer here. So let's go back down here where all of our friends are. this one's going to be slightly different. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a circle. It's going to be a, what is it, 1/2 inch diameter or 1/4 inch radius. And then we'll do a 3-inch line off the side right here. And then we will change our text to that standard 1/4 inch that we created. And we'll go ahead and kind of find the center here. Justify center, yep. And then we'll just put a 1 as a default for now. We'll move this down 1/8 of an inch. And so this will be the drawing number. Remember when I said like we've got the page and the drawing and then subdrawings or whatever? So this would be the drawing set, so it might be drawing set 2, and then you might have a subdrawing of A, B, C, D for different elevations, however you notate that. In this case, this is just going to be drawing 1, but it could be drawing 1A for that set, right? So this, I would be able to look at this, and maybe instead it's, we could change this value to A, breaking my own brain with caps on. So this would be drawing, or sorry, I guess A1, supposed to be set A, drawing 1, and so on. So again, this is how you look up things. This is how you identify which one we're talking about. For this, we'll go ahead and offset this up 1/16. Sorry, 1/32. 1/32 above the line. Oh, and make sure we set this back to 1:1 as well. And then we'll set this one offset down. Oh. Offset, we'll do this one 3/32. Nope. Oh, sorry, 1/8 inch. There we go. Okay, 1/8 inch below the line. And then this is just going to be like a temporary positioning line. So this one I'm going to offset. We'll do 1/8 of an inch here as well. So we've got a nice little space here. So now we'll go ahead and place another text line at the top here. This is going to be, let's see, the drawing label is going to be 1/16 of an inch. So we'll get our standard 16 text, place it here, and this will be, oh, that's not 16th. No, sorry, this should be 1/8. Text. Okay, and then this will be, again, we could, and sorry, justify. We need to change this back to left justify for this one. And this one will be drawing name. And then we'll change this to 16th inch text. Do another text line. And this will be scale, 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And then we'll just get rid of some of these extra lines here that we don't need. And now this becomes another thing that you can move around. Now this we're not actually going to make into an annotative block, because what we're going to do is we're just going to copy it and we're going to paste it out here on the sheet. So we drew it over here in 1:1 scale at the actual size we wanted it to represent at. Now it's over here at the actual size in paper space, because this is real world space, right? So that's how you would make these symbols, and then you can, yeah, that covers all those symbols. The last thing we need is dimension lines. So we'll go ahead and let's just convert this nonsense into an actual space. So I'm going to just come down 10 feet, whatever this is, and there. So now we've got kind of a pseudo space that we're working with here. We'll extend that 6, 6, line. Oh, let's just do offsets. So we'll go ahead and just join these, offset 6 inches. There we go. I know I've got double lines here. We haven't really talked about the issue with double lines, but we'll address that probably definitely next week. Okay, so I've got my pseudo space right here. Let me move this just out of the way, wherever that went. Okay, so I've got this space right here. I need to also do dimensions on it. Let's move these guys right in here too, so we've got everything collected. All right, so we need to put some dimension lines on here, and if you go to Insert, Dimension Lines, we'll go ahead and choose Dimension, Linear, and if we place these, they're going to be pretty awful. Like, you can't see anything. There's the label. Nothing works here, right? So you kind of have to configure dimension lines on your own. They're set up for a totally different purpose than what we're using them for. So I'm going to go into the menu here. Same idea. You just want to, just like the text, you go to the Manage Dimension Styles here. And we're going to go ahead and create a new set of them. So we'll select the annotative one. We'll hit New. And then we're going to call this Anno Dims, and then we're going to call this one 1/4 inch because the gaps between the lines are going to be 1/4 inch when we set this up. So we'll go ahead and hit continue. Now this again, I'm going to be going off notes. This thing is very complex. Oops, I just closed everything. So there's a couple different settings here. What we're going to do first is jump to primary units. We're going to change our unit format to arc, and you can see you'll see this kind of start making clearer sense and look more like what we want as we make these changes. So first, we're going to set the primary unit's unit format to architectural, so that because that's where we're working. We can go ahead and leave the precision at 1/16 of an inch for this, but just be aware that you can change that. We're going to change our fraction format to not stacked, so you can see how that changes how those fractions are displayed. We'll leave round off at 0, and then I think everything else here we're pretty fine with. We'll go ahead and jump back 1 tab to fit, and we're going to change this to both text and arrows. The text is going to be over the dimension line with leader. So in case there's like not enough space, I'm sure we'll see one of them in here at some point. Next is going to be fine tuning and draw dim line between extension lines. So what did that change? Oh yeah, if it doesn't fit, it's going to draw a line out. Okay. Next, we're going to go to the text tab. We're going to set our standard 1/8 inch. We'll leave by block. We'll leave none for fill. Don't worry about fraction height. Let's see. Vertical is going to be above. Horizontal is going to be centered, left to right. For view direction, offset from dimension line. We're going to change this one to a 1/16 of an inch, down from 3/32. And text alignment is going to be aligned with dimension line. So you can see that that changes as this measurement right here is now aligned with the dimension line right there. Next, we're going to go back to symbols and arrows here. These values are fine. Our arrow size we're going to set to 1/8 inch. And then we will have a break size of a 1/4 inch. So this is what the actual 1/4 inch is we have a 1/4 inch gap between lines, or it's set up for a 1/4 inch between lines. but then we'll have an 1/8 inch on either side, or sorry, 1/16 on either side of the text, and it'll look right here in a second. Okay, and then we're almost there. We'll go to lines next. We'll set our baseline spacing to 1/16 of an inch. We will have it extend beyond dimension lines, 1/16 of an inch. Oops, that's 1/6. And then offset from origin, 1/16 of an inch. So if we hit OK, now we've got our new dimension style here. And if we go to place linear with this, oh, and then we need to set it to 1/4 inch. Add current scale, and now we have visible dimension lines that actually function for us. So we can place those along here. Now when I place them, what I do is I usually keep them 3 feet off the building. And I'll typically have multiple sets. So what I will do is my first set is going to measure, I'll come in here and I'll get the centers of things. So oh, come on. So we'll figure out where the center of these windows are. And then this will be 3 feet. And you can see that I've got a little reference point there I can keep grabbing. Now that I've got this one here, I can actually do continue. And again, we'll find where the center of this is. And then we'll find where the center of this window is. And we'll just keep repeating this. I put too many windows here, but we're stuck to the bit now. And then we'll come to the end there. So now I've got this setup where I can accurately space out where all the centers of these windows are. And doing this distance of 3 feet, I like that distance because at 1/4 inch scale, you can put a whole elevation symbol in there, or more accurately, if I had actually converted this, did I create this? Let's set it 1/4 inch. Did I do this one annotative? No, I didn't. Let's go and explode. Block, temp section, annotative. It doesn't matter what's in there. Oh, I did it at 1/4 inch. It does matter. Okay. Block. Annotative. Okay, so then we'll set this to 1/4 inch scale. Add current scale. And now if I was so inclined to, this isn't the axis I would put it on. I'd have to make another one to face left or right for this. But this is that 3 foot gap right there is enough space that I can fit whole symbols like this in this gap right here. Another thing I want to point out is that I have this gap here between the building and the dimension lines themselves. You want to keep that gap. That gap exists there for a reason, because once you go to print this, you're working generally with a lot of black lines, so you wouldn't see that gap. I could actually probably bring that value down to a 32nd of an inch, and it would be fine. But with these windows along here, I would actually want to come through here once I've done this and just kind of bump all of these points up so they're not touching these windows. This is where that kind of detail-oriented stuff about CAD is going to come into play, and where I'm going to get you guys a lot with issues is little details like that. So let's go back to annotate again. So I'll discuss this more as we get into the milestone. We'll break apart how I do dimension lines. But again, here, if I have another layer that measures something else here, then I can just bring this one out. And now that I know that first layer is at 3 feet, I can do this one at 4 feet. And you can see that we have this nice gap right here. things aren't intersecting with each other. The text is readable. So that's why that works out pretty well. Okay. Um, yeah. So that's the whole lecture there. Hopefully you guys were working along with this and created some of your own blocks, because we're basically going to be redoing this for our milestone. So I'm going to keep this window open because now I've already got all of those blocks I created preloaded in here. I've got my text already configured, um, and a couple other things. So I'm going to keep this open and I'm going to switch to the milestone and just use this existing file that I have open right now. So I will see you guys in that video.